Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chad, lead pastor at Crossroads, and I am so excited to have Ron and Amanda Hough with us today for our weekly video blog. They just got an amazing story, and I think it's just full disclosure. This is like the first time Ron's given a testimony. It's awesome. And so I know you all are going to be like me. You're going to be so encouraged by just what the Lord's doing in their life. So just if you all just maybe take a couple of moments and just maybe kind of explain where the Lord's really been kind of leaning into your all's life here in the last little bit, because He's done some really awesome things.
Well, for me, it all started back around November, and I was bouncing back and forth. Do I re-enlist? Do I not re-enlist?
Right.
And I was really leaning toward getting out of the Army.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Whenever he would talk to me about it, my typical response to everything all the time is, well, wherever God wants us is where we're going to be. It doesn't matter what we do, it'll just happen. And I drive him crazy.
Is that true?
Very much so. How do you not plan for something, or at least attempt to?
Right. So y'all were, this November last year kind of thinking, I really think it's time for me to get out of the Army. Mm-hmm. Am I going to re-enlist? What's that mean for my family? Where are we going to go? I mean, all of those kind of questions, kind of what next kind of questions out there. So, I mean, how did the Lord kind of work all that out? I mean, what kind of happened? I mean, how did that affect you, kind of having to trust Him and what those next steps were?
I was gut wrenching. I couldn't sleep. When I went down and talked to my retention NCO, he said, there's no options. You E4, you can't re-enlist. You have to reclass, and my reclass options were worse than what I was already doing. So
wow,
it was I had to get promoted or walk away.
Wow. And the very next week he was promoted.
No kidding. The next week. Wow.
Next week they told me it was like a whoop. I guess.
So how do you feel like God played a role in that?
He knew what we needed when we needed it, and He just found the place when time was right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, if I remember correctly, you all kind of thought you were headed to Colorado.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so what was that the turn that kept you here?
No. See, I was heading to Colorado, and we had some issues with my kids in Michigan.
Yeah.
And a whole legal mumbo jumbo there, and I had to go back to my retention NCO, and say, what can I do with this?
Wow.
He said, you can put in paperwork to postpone it, which is iffy whether they'll do that or not.
Right.
Or you can try to get them deleted. And with the budget cuts, he said they're trying to delete people's orders as it is. So if you volunteer, hey, delete them, he said there's a good chance they're just going to wipe them off and you'll just be stuck here.
Right. So that kind of opened that door up for you guys to be here. Did you feel like that was a God thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why so, man?
Well, honestly, it was hard for me at first because I really, really wanted to go to Colorado. Colorado is like my dream place to live.
Yeah.
Totally always wanted to live there since I visited there a long time ago.
Right.
And so at first I was like, yes, I'm finally making it there. And then, so I struggled with it at the same time as I was like, okay, God, this is where, I threw that fleece out there. If you want us to stay, make it happen. If you don't want us to stay and you want us to go, we'll go.
Yeah.
And, wherever you want us is where we'll go.
Yeah.
And, we've been following all along. And so I just really felt like, okay, He wasn't done here. But I did struggle with it a little bit.
So, what would you guys say to maybe folks who are in the same position, maybe not exactly, but those folks that may be wondering, what's our next step? I mean, how would you kind of encourage them to do what you all did, kind of dependent upon God? I mean, what kind of encouragement would you have for them in that?
Be patient.
Be
patient.
Really? So how do you all practice that patience? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, mine is that wherever God wants us is where we're going to end up. It doesn't really matter, necessarily the steps that we take. you know, like we were headed to Colorado, and whether that was the carrot that made Ron re-enlist, and that's where he was supposed to be job-wise.
Yeah.
But then he turned it so that we would stay here.
Yeah.
It all fell into place. And so I know that that is like, for me, that is just like, I like constantly put on the table, okay, God, where we're supposed to be is where we're going to be. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Just, we want to be there. That's for me, but I know that
What
drives
about
him
for
crazy.
Yeah, what about for you? I mean, how do you maintain patience and being faithful in the midst of that?
I'm not very good at that at all. I go stir crazy.
Yeah.
I lose sleep at night. My stomach's in jumbles. And with somebody saying, oh, it'll be okay, it's like magic. It just falls into place. It drives me nuts because I have to know what's coming.
Well, I think God's got some amazing things in store for you all. I know that selfishly, I'm so glad that you're sticking around, and just your faithfulness is really inspiring. It really is. You know, for anybody else who may be kind of struggling with what are some next steps within their life, I mean, this is just a great example that it's not easy. It's simple. Just be patient, but sometimes it's hard. And I just hope that you've been encouraged in the same way I am hearing Ron and Amanda's story. And we'll look forward to seeing you all on Sunday. Take care.